guys a visual comparison of these two shoes next to each other so you guys can see some of the changes that they made from the original HYPERADAPT versus a brand new Adapt BB. These are both of the Nike self-lacing shoes that they have on the market. Obviously, the other one I don't have. Anyways, we'll settle for these two in this video and compare the HYPERADAPT versus the Adapt BB. Thank you guys for stopping by and watching the video. And if you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, notification bell to be notified of when the videos are posted. So this is a video that I've been really excited to show you guys, just the comparison between the two technologies. So both of these shoes from the beginning are just definitely different. They didn't take any recycled efforts from the first shoe and then wanted to use them on the second shoe. You can see the motor system is completely different and revamped, as this one has this giant huge battery pack section down here that says MT2. This one does not have it. It just has a clear sole, looks like a regular basketball shoe. It has a nice little integration on the side with two buttons for the adjustment of the laces. You can see here. It's a long sound, but this one means it's locking it down all the way. This one in the front means it's loosening it. The difference on the HYPERADAPT, they have these two little buttons right here that are really hard to see. And this is actually a forward and a backward button here. So you can see it's tightening it down. Backwards back here loosens it. And you can see it was actually physically loosening these laces because it has these interesting little things here that allow that to happen. The HYPERADAPT has more lights as well. It has that big block down at the bottom, but it also does have that cool little LED section on the back of the shoe, which is something I would have loved to see on the Adapt BB. The Adapt BB only has the lights here in the side and nowhere else on the entire upper. So not as flashy as the HYPERADAPT. One thing that I would have loved to see integrated, but probably easier that they streamlined it without having that added to the shoe. I did want to let you guys know that the sizing of these things are both really snug. I am a size 9.5 and both of these are a size 10, and even the HYPERADAPT, even at a size 10, is really snug on my foot. Honestly, the shape of these on feet are so uncomfortable to me personally that they're just unwearable after a certain amount of time. But the Adapt BB takes things to a whole nother level because these have a Kobe-esque feel on feet. They're really comfortable. They fit right. And they're both size 10s, but this one feels it as it should on my feet. There's no obstructions or anything weird feeling when I put these on versus when I have the HYPERADAPTs on. They just are not as comfortable. So right out the gate, that is a really big selling point for the Adapt BB. Another thing that I'll mention is the price points are massively different. The HYPERADAPTs came out at $720 when they actually released, which is absolutely insane. Such a crazy price point for those shoes. And now with the Adapt BB releasing, these are at $350. So definitely a much more affordable price point for those people on the market that want to try out the self-lacing sneakers. Speaking of the self-lacing sneakers though, you could see that the Adapt BB takes things in a different direction. So we had the HYPERADAPTs that actually had the laces here. We had this weird Chinese finger trap thing sort of over the lace that looked really weird, and it was kind of odd looking, but at the end of the day, it was pretty gratifying to see these cinch down and actually lock down your foot. Versus this Adapt BB, I mean, it looks like it sucked it in a little bit, as you could see, but it doesn't have the wow factor of a self-lacing shoe because you literally can't see the laces. I mentioned this in my unboxing of the shoe. I'm kind of like, why didn't they use something here to have like the glass window effect? They've been pushing this like clear material stuff on so many different shoes, the 4% and these. I mean, this is what I mean. You could see right through this material. Why didn't they use something like this on top of this instead of the Flyknit? I just don't understand, because it would have been really dope to be able to see it. Short of actually ripping this shroud off and cutting it off, which is a terrible idea. I know you guys would expect that from this channel just because that's kind of what I do, but I would feel so bad taking a $350 shoe like this and removing that. Unless I got paid a lot of money for that video, it totally wouldn't be worth it for myself. But at the same time, I'm like, I wish it was there because I really don't like what they have here. So you can hear from the length of that process, either one of them has a slower engine than the other, or this one actually has a lot more lacing that it has to do than on the HYPERADAPTs, which was an interesting thing because on the HYPERADAPTs, it didn't look like there was that much here to lace. I mean, it was just a small distance, so you're literally cinching it from this to here. It doesn't seem like it's doing that much actually on your foot, because visually it just doesn't appear. But when you put it on your feet, you can definitely feel the cinching of the shoe on your foot. So it's interesting to see the different versions of what they wanted to do with the visible look of that self-lacing laces. But honestly, I'm kind of intrigued and want to see the next steps of the self-lacing shoe. Is it something where they're going to hide it completely again, or are they going to embrace it and show it? Not really sure. Do you guys care? Leave a comment in the comment section. One other thing to note, underneath this shroud that has this connection right here on top, there is a tongue, and it is a detached tongue, and it does kind of mold to your foot, and it is comfortable for those wondering. This has just a kind of a really big fat tongue on it for the HYPERADAPT. You can see it sits much higher than on the basketball shoe. As you look at the backs of the shoes together though, you will see there's a different shape here. There's a huge heel counter on the HYPERADAPTs, and part of it has functionality here, as you can see, because it has those LED lights, which I think is super dope. You do have a pull tab here on the back section of the shoe also. And then you can see the midsole design has a little bit of flare up here on the bottom and then cuts down low. On the Adapt BBs, it's kind of interesting. They have a really hard piece of material right here on the back. It looks kind of like a cool aesthetic, like a little fin, a shark fin or something like that. And then you have a harder piece of plastic back here on the back of the shoe. Nice soft materials here, not React or anything like that. I think it's just Phylon or something like that on this. The Adapt BB is actually softer material though than this foam here on the HYPERADAPT. It just feels softer and squishier to the touch. It also has a glossy finish versus the HYPERADAPT, which has kind of a matte finish. One other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is definitely the charging pad for the Adapt BB, which is literally a pad. You stick your shoe on top of it, versus the dongles that you have here, and you stick it on the bottom of the shoe, and that charges your HYPERADAPT. So different technology is kind of cool either which way. But even better, though, that you have something that you could actually do a wireless charge like this. You don't have to plug this one in either. It just slaps on and it's easy to charge like this. And you will get notification when you charge it because the light does turn on. But I just wanted to show you guys the differences between the two. The benefit of the HYPERADAPT charger is definitely much more portable if you actually planned on taking these anywhere. If you actually want to travel with this shoe and need to bring a charger, that would totally suck. But honestly, you shouldn't have to bring a charger for either of these shoes. For the most part, these last a tremendous amount of time for the charge. I don't know the actual metrics of the timing, but it lasts a long time. So if you travel for like a week or two, if they're charged before you go, you won't really have to worry about charging them. And even if you don't have your charger, supposedly they're built smart enough that they preserve just enough battery life to loosen the shoe to be able to get your shoe off. That way you're not stuck with the shoe around your foot. As you work your way to the bottoms of the shoe, you can see obviously a massive difference. The HYPERADAPT has this crazy huge box down here on the bottom. I believe I was reading that this actually was a cutout of a pair of basketball shoes like the Air Jordan 30s or something like that, where the middle actually had a cutout here and had a flight plate in the bottom of the shoe. It was the right shape where they actually took that as the inspiration to be able to cut out and put this little motor in the bottom of the shoe. Unfortunately, on feet though, it just doesn't fit like even like the Jordans do, because I had those Jordans and they just don't fit as comfortable as these do on feet. For some reason, the shape on here just does not rock well with my feet. The Adapt BBs though have these cool little blue dots on the bottoms of the shoe, and actually there's a little butterfly on the bottom of this one, which is kind of cool. I didn't realize that. But I like the circular look of the shoe, and there's like 2 circles down at the bottom, and simple and clear and not anything crazy, but it is a basketball shoe, so hopefully it actually grips well. Lastly, the overall upper material on the shoes are totally different. Again, this is kind of like a interesting knit type materials. Can't remember what Jordan brand called it, but they had their own proprietary thing that they called it, but this looks really, really similar to that. Meanwhile, you have just like a really thin, stretchy Flyknit type material over top of the shroud here. And then on the bottom, it looks like some nubuckish type material. Underneath the shroud, though, there's a bunch of different things going on. You can see some pulley systems here with the strings, some interesting mesh and some lockdown stuff down here. But that is kind of just an overview of these 2 shoes. I really am excited to see what Nike is going to be doing in the future. These Adapt BBs feel so good on feet that I could actually wear these casually, and I think that that is a big plus. I personally was not a fan of the HYPERADAPTs that much on feet. It just was not a comfortable shoe. If you guys know differently, leave a comment in the comment section and let others know. But without the HYPERADAPT, you would have no Adapt BB, so you can't really forget the stepping stone that was here to be able to create this shoe. So kudos to the HYPERADAPT and having this shoe be what it is, because it started out as something great and it's just being perfected as we go. Anyways, that's my comparison. Hopefully you guys found this video somewhat informative. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, show you guys support on the video, and have a great rest of the day. We'll catch you guys for some more sneaker videos very soon. Peace, guys.